Hello everyone. In my last recorded message, I talked on the functions of language. Last time I, elaborated on three primary functions of language. That is informative function, expressive function, and directive function. I hope what I explained to you was clear. In case you have any doubts, you can always ask me the questions later on. You can prepare your questions, keep them ready, and when we have our class via Google Meet, or probably we will meet in the physically in the classroom, maybe if the COVID situation is better and traveling to and from Kerala is permitted by government of Karnataka, I will probably go to your institute in the month of November, and at that time we can clarify all the doubts. Till then you can wait, or if you want any clarification, you can also ask me the questions via WhatsApp. I will always explain. Okay, so last time I talked on, as I have already mentioned, informative, expressive, and directive functions of language. These are considered the primary functions of language. But there is another function of language which is equally important, but it is not considered primary. It is not a primary function of language, but nonetheless it's very, very important. It is basically a social function, and it is called phatic communion. Phatic, Phatic, phatic communion, Communion, communion. Remember, it is not communication, it is communion. Phatic communion. So what is phatic communion? So language also has the function of phatic communion. Phatic communion means like you have a communion with people. So it's social interaction, not exactly interaction, it's not for exchange of ideas or expression of feelings and emotions. It is used in order to maintain social relationship. Now, for example, in every language we have certain expressions to greet people, to wish people. For example, when you students meet a teacher in the morning, what do? You wish good morning. You say good morning sir, or good morning madam. Or supposing you meet your teacher in the evening, you wish him or her saying good evening. So why is it done? Does it really mean anything very serious? No, it doesn't mean anything serious. When you wish good morning, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are wishing your teacher from the core of your heart that your teacher should have a good morning. I mean, morning should be good for your teacher. No, that is not the purpose. That is not the function. But then why do you wish? You wish because this is actually a way of acknowledging the presence of your teacher. When you come face to face with your teacher, if you don't wish, then what will happen? It will not be considered a good behavior. It will not be considered an appropriate social behavior. So therefore you wish. And you also wish when you meet somebody after a long time, you ask, how are you? So the other person says, I'm fine, thank you. What about you? How are you? So you will also say, I am fine. Then you start talking certain things. So these are basic. And then when you meet somebody, in a social gathering, let us say marriage or some other social function, you talk to people, you exchange pleasantries. This is called exchanging of pleasantries. That is to say, you ask how the person is, how you talk about the food, you ask about the person's, the other family members, you talk about the weather, you talk about the climate. Supposing the other person has come from some other place, you ask about the climate, etc., etc. These are social talks. So these talks are made basically to maintain social relationship with people whom you know. And it is also, language is also used to establish social relationship. For example, when you meet somebody and someone introduces, let's say a friend of yours introduces a person who is his or her friend. So you, what do? You talk, you make social talks, you inquire about the other person, and the other person also inquires about you, and you talk so many, you may talk so many things. So these are basically social talks. uh, so this kind of talks, this kind of talk will help you in establishing a relationship. So basically fatigue communion is, what fatigue communion means is that basically fatigue communion refers to that function of language which is which helps a person in establishing as well as maintaining social relationship. Okay, now I will come to some other functions of language as mentioned by a linguist called Halliday, Halliday, M.A.K. Halliday. He was a linguist. So he talked about 7 important functions of language. So however, when he talked about these functions, he talked about them with reference to children. So he was trying to explain why children feel motivated to use language, why children feel motivated to talk, what makes them talk. So he says that children feel like talking, children feel motivated to talk because language serves these functions, these 7 functions. So what are these 7 functions? Number 1 is instrumental function. So what is instrumental function? So he says that language is used as an instrument to achieve material goals. That is to say, a child wants something. So the child very soon realizes, the moment it starts talking, like uttering even the first word, or by the time a child is, let us say, 2 years old, a child can speak many words, and the child also starts speaking, maybe small sentences, 1 or 2 words. So the child understands that when the child wants something or needs something, the child has to ask for it. Let us say child sees a doll, a beautiful doll. The child wants it. So what the child says, the child may not know the word for doll, but it may coin a word of his own. It may say say Baba. So Baba may mean the doll. So he points at the doll and says Baba. So it means that the child wants the doll. So, and let us say the child wants milk. So the only way to get it is by asking, by demanding. As long as he is, until the time he learns to speak, the child cries. So the mother knows that the child is hungry. So the mother gives milk or whatever the child can eat. But once the child starts speaking, so let us say the child learns the word for milk. It cannot say milk. Let us say in the Indian context, let us say the child says gaga. Gaga means milk. The child may say gaga. So the mother understands that it wants milk. So it has instrumental function. It is called instrumental function. That is to say, language is used as an instrument to achieve material goals. Okay, that is to say, when the child requires something, then the child asks by using language, asks or demands. Okay. Number two, it is called regulatory function. So what is regulatory function? Language is used by children as well as adults to regulate others, to regulate the behavior of others. So what do I mean by that? Let us say, someone orders something, sit there. Okay, it's an order. So when you say sit there, that means you are trying to regulate the behavior of another person. Persuasion, it is also used for persuasion. You may not always order, or you may know that if you order it will not work, so you persuade somebody. What is persuasion? That is to say, you convince the other person to accept what you are asking him or her to do. It is by using what? Soft language, by using a kind of language which is pleasant. Okay. So parents normally control children by using language. So small children are never beaten up. They are not punished. Generally, parents control their behavior by using language. Adults also does this, and even child also uses language to control others. That is to say, let us say, control the parents. Let us say the parents go somewhere and without taking the child. So the child uses language to demand that the child be also taken. So both ways, parents use language to control or regulate the behavior of children, and children also use language to control the behavior of parents. The third function is called interactional function. So it is interactional, that is used for social interaction. So and as we all know, language plays a very dominant role in the socialization process of a child. See, a child is not born a social being. A child becomes social. As a child grows among the other members of a society, the child picks up social behavior and it adapts to the social ways of life. So for that, language is very important, because it is through language that the socialization process takes place. Because child comes to know what is appropriate behavior, what is not appropriate behavior. All these are done by using language, both ways. That is to say, child uses language as well as the others also use language to tell the child what is appropriate, what is not appropriate. So this is interactional function, is not necessarily for exchange of ideas or information. It is for social interaction. Interaction. That is, it's a social function. Then another function is that is the fourth one. It is called personal function. So what is personal function? Language is used by a child or used by even adults to establish one's own presence or identity. Now just let me illustrate with a small example. Let us say there is a small child in a house, and one day you find that there are some visitors, okay, in the house. When the visitors come, his parents become busy with the visitors. The child feels neglected. The child feels left out. So what happens? The child tries to establish its own identity, its own presence. So what does it do? Let us say the parents and the guests discuss about a recent book. Okay, let's say there is a book which has come to the market and they are talking about the book. So the child hears that they are talking about book. He doesn't understand what exactly they are talking, but he knows one thing, that they are talking about some book. So he also wants to participate in the conversation. So what he does, he goes inside and he brings out his picture book, which is, let us say, his parents bought some days back. So he brings the book there and he says, this is book, this is my book. Okay, by saying that he is trying to make his presence felt. That is to say, he tries to establish his presence. Okay, so that's called personal function. Now the next function is called heuristic function. Heuristic, that is spelling HEURISTIC. HEURISTIC. Heuristic function. Now this is what is this function? You see, language is used by children to explore the world. When a child is born, it doesn't have any knowledge, it doesn't know anything. So as the child grows, it discovers so many things around it. So everything around it is new. Whenever he wants to know more about the environment, more about the the things, animals, greeneries, and everything, food, everything. So the child wants to explore the world. Now, as the child grows, many questions pertaining to the surroundings are raised in his mind. And so he wants to know, if you take a small child, take a small child and go out for a while, a child who can speak, and you will be surprised that the child will ask you if the child is articulate. There are some children, of course, who are by nature very shy, they don't speak. But let us say it's a child who is articulate, who is vocal, who is not an introvert, who is an extrovert. An extrovert child will ask you hundreds of questions. Moment you take the child out, he or she will ask hundreds of questions, because this is how he tries to explore the world. So basically this is a we can say it's an intellectual function. So language has a very important intellectual function. Our intellect develops, our intellect grows because of language. If there was no language, probably this kind of intellectual growth would not have been there. That means human beings wouldn't have been able to achieve this kind of intellectual growth. Okay. Sixth function is imaginative function. So what is imaginative function? That is, we human beings also imagine things. Earlier when I was explaining to you about the properties of language, at that time I told you that human language consists of arbitrary symbols. And these arbitrary symbols, because the symbols are arbitrary, it allows us to think of many things which do not exist. So we can imagine many things which do not really exist in the world. Now, a child also uses language for this kind of function, that is imaginative function. Now let us say a child you may find that a preschooler who goes to school and comes back home, and then the child behaves like its teacher. So it may it reminds me of a small child whose mother I know. So once I met both the child and the mother. So every day after she comes back from the school, so she makes her mother sit and she becomes the teacher. She plays the role of a teacher, and her mother has to play the role of a student. So she will order, sit there, don't go. So this all that she orders. So she behaves like that. So she imagines herself as the teacher and imagines her mother as the student. So she uses language, to imagine things. So this is imaginative function. Okay. Now the last function, that is seventh function, it is called informative function. So what is informative function? This is of course is the same as what I talked earlier on, basic functions of language. That's informative function. So it's the same as that. Okay. So a language is used to share information with other human beings, where we exchange information with others. Uh, so now, for example, you know something, you exchange, you share that information with your friends, and a teacher imparts information to the students. So how does the teacher do it? It's by using language. And so the kind of information the kind of information a person wants to share depends upon age, education, taste, interest, status, cultural background, or personal culture of speakers as well as listeners. I'll repeat this sentence. The kind of information a person wants to share depends upon the person's age, education, taste, interest, status, cultural background, or personal culture. Okay. As personal culture of not only the speaker but also of the listeners. So now, for example, someone who is in a high status, he or she will not talk about gossip, silly things, talk about gossips. Okay. And it also depends upon interest. So somebody is interested in music, so that person will definitely like to share information on music. He or she will talk about music. He or she will also try to find out information on music or education. And even age matters. Now, for example, small children like to talk on certain topics which adults will find very silly or meaningless, and adults will talk on other on topics which children might find very boring or uninteresting. So basically it depends upon all these factors. What you share, what information you share, depends upon all these factors. So depending on that, the shared information can the range can be very wide. It can start from simple gossiping to some theory or principle of science. Yeah, this much for today. So I hope you have understood. I hope I have made it clear to you. So in case you have any questions, you can ask me later on. Thank you, everyone.